I'm glad to see that the velocity is dropping because we may still have some of that debris that's being caught up yet. So even though this storm, if it did touch the ground, it potentially could have lifted by now because we're not seeing the tight rotation. But typically you can still pick up a little bit of that debris after the fact as you're still waiting for some of that to settle. So we still may find that that debris signature is holding even though the potential for it to be on the ground has started to lift for us. So we are glad to see that that rotation is not nearly as tight, but you can definitely see kind of that green line that shows up in that last scan. That's some stronger winds that are still coming in. I am still a little also leery right along I-69. This system still could be trying to turn just a little bit. So though that rotation is getting a little bit weaker, does not mean that we're necessarily going to give you the all clear. That debris signature is still just north of Hadley. And it actually looks to be a little bit closer in line with now Lake Lapeer. So that would be staying. You can see Stonegate Farm events. We're also going to be seeing that, as Chris had said, Poplars Creek, Bullock Road. It's going to be headed in that direction. Mitchell Road. I know we have a lot of people who are living on Lake Lapeer. If you have property, if you are at the cottage tonight, make sure you are headed to your safe spot because there's a lot of residential there.
So Diane, to cut back in, we have had some technical issues getting our live stream going tonight. So we apologize for that. That is now going. So for anyone potentially in Lapeer County that is now joining us, let's go right back to that debris ball. If that is still on the ground, or at the very least the debris signature is still showing up.
Yeah, it is still there.
Okay, so this is the area right here, just to the north of Hadley. And if either one of you could help me out again with some of those landmarks that are just to the north of Hadley and then just to the southwest of that intersection of I-69 and M24.
Right, so yes, it's going to be along Stewart Road.
Stewart Road. And
we're going to continue to see this head Bullock Road. If Merlin Road is another one that it is going to potentially head towards as it's staying south of I-69. It doesn't look like beyond Lake Lapeer, doesn't seem that we have too many big businesses. We are finding just a couple that are populating here on the map, but no larger landmarks, sadly.
Okay. Let's put this on pause for a second, and let's zoom right in on the debris ball. If we can, the latest scan. Yep. Okay, go back one. Notice the brightness here, right here, and then go one forward. You see it drop off a little bit.
Yes.
I'm wondering if that debris ball is going to disappear on that next scan or if it's going to continue to fade away.
And that would align with the velocity drop.
Yeah, and I don't know, I don't know which tornado warning just got canceled.
Genesee County, yes.
Okay.
I'm glad that you brought that up, Stone, because Genesee County, you are now clear of that tornado warning tonight that did just come in from the National Weather Service. But we do still have the tornado warning in Lapeer County. That is going to continue. They may have made some changes. Yes, you can see that the very southern tip of Lapeer County has now been cleared. But Lapeer, Brown City, Imlay City are still in that warning. Oh, and now we even have, the severe thunderstorm
just canceled that. And I do know they did cancel the tornado watch as well for the western and central portions of the state, but still in the dump for now. I think they might have even pushed it a little bit later in the morning, but I think at this point those storms will be rolled out before the end of it. I don't know if someone has a time when that tornado watch ends.
The tornado watch in Lapeer County is going to go for another 42 minutes.
Okay.
So we will see that last until about 12:50, or no, it was issued, excuse me, at 12:50 a.m.
So we did get another Logan Raymond in the Frankenmuth area did report to me lost power just south of Frankenmuth, east of M83, 1 mile. So I think this goes back to the point, Diane, before you told me about that debris ball and we got distracted, rightfully so, is we've been talking about some of these wind gusts that have been observed at areas like Bishop and also MBS, 49 miles per hour, and I believe the one at Bishop was at a 50 mile per hour plus.
Yes.
So those on surface don't really seem like they're winds that are going to blow you away. The 49 miles per hour, that's not going to qualify for a severe thunderstorm warning. The wind gust that was in Flint, that one probably wouldn't have qualified for a severe thunderstorm warning too. But we have seen several power outages as we've gone throughout tonight. So what's either happening is we're likely getting just these very localized bursts of wind that are coming along the line, or we have had like we have seen in Atlas Township, potentially some brief spin-ups as we've gone throughout the night. So here's your consumers outage map right here. And we've got a few outages that are just to the south of Saginaw. So if you move the mouse around 675, you can clearly see that loop. And then the outages that are just south of there, looks like we actually just had one pop up just to the east of 675. And then now you keep going out. So we're at least getting locally higher sporadic winds. The image that I got from St. Charles, I'm going to take a look at that. Look to be more blown over in a straight fashion, and I'll show both of you this image here. That to me looks like a straight line wind blowdown. Yeah. It doesn't look twisted, it just looks like it's toppled over.
And another thing to consider is a lot of the leaves have really budded here. So that means that our trees are going to have a little more resistance, making them easier to knock over in a situation.
And we have also had, even though it doesn't seem like it, we have had a soggy couple of days. The ground might be a little bit saturated, at least on a local level. So there could be some areas that are experiencing some weakness towards the bottom of some of these trees. Let's go up to Bay County really quick. Still not seeing any terribly concerning, but let's just get a sample of some of those winds. Those look sub-severe on surface to me. I think those are probably going to pick up around 45, 55 miles per hour. Or maybe a little bit less.
42, get up a little further north, 40.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So Bay County, it looks like it's been gusty at times, but like I mentioned earlier, as those storms have moved into your area as we've gone throughout the night, nothing has really jumped out at us as far as some of the signatures that have been periodically to your west through Midland County, or some of the signatures that we've seen to the south. Weather Service in Detroit, not for our area, but just issued another tornado warning for the Troy area.
I do also want to highlight that we had mentioned that debris ball that we were watching just north of Atlas Township. That has now disappeared for us, which kind of makes sense. A couple, 1-2 scans after we saw that rotation drop, and then to see that debris drop after. Another interesting thing is I now have a cluster of anywhere from, let's actually see here from consumers, 100 people just where we were seeing that rotation. Consumers is now saying that we have a block there of power outages. So we definitely had something to where we had flying debris. We had at least some trees down. Of course, we saw that debris signature earlier, but that has now dissipated.
Yeah, it was. So for anyone that is just joining us, I know our live stream was having some issues, so we apologize for that. But this was that area just to the north of Hadley, south of Davidson, that did pick up maybe a small debris ball, had some rotation there. We can see it just moving through that sort of yellow area. Right there towards M15. I'll point it out real quick for you. So this is the area that we did have maybe a little bit of concern of maybe a tornado. Again, there was some rotation that matched that area as it moved into Lapeer County. At this point, again, has gone away. We can see that debris ball or what that shine there is gone as it's moved to the east. So obviously a good thing there. We'll see how things turn out. If you're in that area and you have any damage reports, send them our way, but stay indoors if you can. It's all about being safe. Obviously, you could have power lines on the ground near you. You don't want to walk into those. I know it's dark out some areas. Obviously, you don't have power, so you can't see outdoors because there won't be any light. So just stay indoors, go outside in the morning. Hopefully, you can take care of anything that is on the ground, trees that have fallen, and just play it safe as you're getting up. Because obviously, you have a dry day for Friday.
Yeah, that's great news to where we do have a good chunk of dry weather coming in for Friday. So even though it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning and you want to see what's going on, just be very cautious. It's hard in the dark to see what's actually down. And as we had mentioned, power outages and down power lines are going to be a big concern tonight.
The tree will still be down in the morning, so.
So let's just do a quick recap here, just so some folks could go to bed. If you're still with us, again, your live stream, we apologize that came on a little little bit late. We had to get on the air as quickly as possible. We had some technical difficulties with that, but we are streaming on Facebook now. We appreciate your patience. Off to the west, Isabella County, Gratiot County, Shiawassee, Midland, Gladwin, Clare, you are all in the clear. You are free to go to sleep tonight. The only warnings that we have at this point are the tornado warning that is still in effect for Lapeer County. Does that one go until 1:15, 1:30, somewhere in there?
Lapeer County, the tornado warning is still going to be active for 35 minutes. That will last until 1:30 a.m.
Okay, so 1:30 here. I wouldn't be shocked if this one's canceled a little bit sooner based on the way some of the latest radar scans have been going. Weather Service still holding on to the thunderstorm warning with the tornado possible tag in Tuscola County. We haven't really seen a concerning wind signature there too.
I'll look real quick. We'll see.
Yeah.
And the good news is when I did our meso analysis, northern portions of Tuscola County, Huron County, northern Sanilac County did not have the favorable environment for storms. And I anticipate that that is the reason why the National Weather Service has not continued the warnings for Huron and Sanilac counties. No, they have been ahead. They have given a lot of us advance notice. So considering they have not done that yet and we are getting very close to those locations, makes me very optimistic that we will not need warnings as we go into the fun tonight.
And just while we have a quiet moment, Diane and Stone, can we zoom up to Bay City and just let that loop for the rotation play a little bit? So there just hasn't really been getting a couple of things out of Bay City tonight about, you know, we haven't really focused here. Again, that's not, you know, to ignore you. We have seen a lot more I guess, concerning circulations a little bit farther to the south. This appears to be more of a straight line wind threat that has gone through Bay City. We've had a couple of bursts of brighter greens that have popped up, and anything that has even looked, you know, remotely like it's been trying hasn't necessarily looked quite as strong in that area compared to some others. So again, I just want you to know in Bay County that's not purposeful or anything like that. The Weather Service, as Diane was mentioning, there have been some broad warnings issued for tonight. They have been getting ahead of the game as much as possible. So some of the rotation that we were seeing in areas like Midland County, some of those warnings were issued ahead of time. Do you have any power outages in Bay City?
We do have just in, excuse me, in Tuscola County, we do. Let me head over to consumers here. So,
and we'll also have to look at Bay City Power.
Yes, we need to check with them as well, but it looks like a few of them are just able to say just towards Munger.
Okay.
So that's where we have some of our more prominent power outages. Let me check in with Bay City.
Yeah, and I do wonder how much you think that the lake, cooler water there in the lake, could be influenced, just helping, you know, maybe lower any of that rotation chance that you had in Bay City. Obviously, you had the straight lines. That was definitely the biggest concern. It seems like most of that rotation, once it got just to the east of Midland, sort of weakened out and became more of a straight line wind. So obviously something, and then we do have, I think that's Consumers Energy power outages there. So seeing more and more start to pop up, and that doesn't surprise me. Again, there will be some areas that maybe the reports come in a little bit late. By the morning, we'll have definitely a good sign of where most of those power outages are. And I think a majority of them are definitely going to be from, again, strong straight line winds. That was a big concern you always have with the sort of straight line storm like what we had tonight, but you still had those notches that had some rotation. We'll look down to the south real quick just to make sure there wasn't maybe another area in Lapeer County.
Actually, National Weather Service did go with the severe thunderstorm warnings for Sanilac and Huron counties. So that's going to last until 2:15 this morning. We are going to have the storms potentially seeing hazards of about 60-mile-per-hour winds. And we do also have the same conditions. So though the environment is not looking exciting here, we are going to find that that tornado possibility is still here. The wind threat is there. That hail threat will continue to watch. We've had a few hail reports, but that has definitely not been the headliner for us tonight. So that is going to be
meteorologist Matthew Mondro is here now for the overnight to get you set for the morning. We're not going anywhere just yet, but he did say in downtown Saginaw near Fuzzy's in the city limit, as he was driving in, there were some trees down and some pretty good sized trees. So again, we've had some official reports come in from some of the airport observations that have had some wind gusts between about 40 and I'd say 55 miles per hour. But this just goes to show you that in between some of those observations, we've had some locally stronger winds. And especially if Matthew's reporting that we've had some pretty good sized trees coming down and not just branches, I think that gives us a little bit of credibility to that. So it looks like we've got Sanilac County under a tornado possible too?
Yes.
So we're just going to carry this right to Lake Huron.
And that is also going to include Huron County as well. They are both under that tornado possible tag. So again, though it's not a tornado warning, the conditions are likely or possible that we could have a tornado.
So I think this is doing, at least based on some of the reflectivity, this is doing kind of what we expected it to do as it's moved off to the east.
Yeah.
We've managed some staying power into parts of our region based on the power outages and based on the damage reports that we have seen tonight. But this is starting to, for a lack of better term, look a little sloppy up in this area. Not as many tight areas of rotation like we saw to the west.
Also, just simply the reflectivity is dropping as that is starting to come in. So there's, as I'm looking here behind the scenes, there's not as much orange. There's a little more yellow. So we're also starting to see kind of that rain back down. And as I had mentioned earlier, I'm seeing an environment for the thumb that doesn't have a lot of storm energy in it. It doesn't really have a lot of wind shear in it either. So I am a little bit surprised that the National Weather Service did go with those warnings, but we have seen reports that have been very close to that severe criteria. So we're just going to continue to follow this over towards Lake Huron. I know it's going to be late. We had mentioned here as we head into the 1 o'clock hour, our clock just hitting 1 a.m. here, that we are going to have these storms coming into the thumb. So we could even be seeing them tracking towards Port Hope around 1:30. So you still have about a half hour left. As far as these storms have been going, we've been seeing them around 55 miles per hour. So hopefully they move on fairly quickly, but it looks like they have slowed down a little bit. They're now closer towards 45
Do we
miles
have
per
any
hour.
power outages on the northern end of our area as you start getting up to the Clare and Gladwin County area?
We had just the one that we were watching there along M20 towards Clare, just west of Harrison.
Okay.
We do have about 636 customers without power, and that's going to be right there along 61.
It seemed like we lost juice there a lot sooner.
Yeah, definitely to the north. Lost quite a bit of juice there, really north of, really Clare north there was the area that didn't have as much as it rolled in, unlike areas down to the south.
And did we get a warning that extended into Gladwin or no?
I think it, off the top of
briefly?
my head, I think it was just south.
Okay, so this area right here has been the main zone and also down to Detroit. So,
Yes.
and this actually lines up well with our graph model yesterday showing us the weakening of the northern edge of that line a little bit sooner and just maintaining itself a little bit more. This almost looks exactly like that model that we had earlier this evening where it looks a little bit better going through Lapeer County as opposed to some of these areas a little bit further to the north.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the picture a lot of the models were trying to show was you do have an area towards Shiawassee, Genesee, Lapeer, south of the thumb that was maybe a little bit better for severe weather than those areas up to the north. Now, I think some of those storms that were around Grand Rapids did a good amount of traveling into our area, and that's really where we saw that rotation probably in the Tri-City area was that same portion of that storm that was in Grand Rapids that did have a few tornadoes, even a few confirmed tornadoes.
Yeah, and now that this storm appears that it's moving out of Lapeer County or getting set to here very soon, I think that warning's going to go away.
Yes, it still has about 30 minutes, but it is, yes, it's almost out of the county line. Just for folks who are wanting to go to bed in Lapeer County, if you are in Lapeer, Metamora, Hadley, Alba, Columbiaville, you are in good shape. North Branch, you're very much borderline on that warning, but Burnside, Goodland, Imlay City, Attica, you are in that warning, so stick with us a little bit longer. If you are in the Tri-Cities, we can give you the all clear to go to bed. If you are in Genesee County, you are also okay to go to bed tonight. If you are in the thumb, stick with us a little bit longer. Hopefully we can get these through before 2 a.m.
Speaking of the thumb, can we go up to Unionville and Seaboing and just get a velocity scan, maybe not even the rotation tracker. Let's see if we can get just a look at the velocity. It's going to be tough because in that area, it's really tough. Unionville and Akron. Did get something from Dawn on Facebook, said the winds are very strong.
There might be just west of Unionville some stronger returns on velocity. It's just potentially a little bit lighter there.
Maybe in this area right
Yeah,
here.
that was, I was say, right there just to the south where you were pointing, Chris. I think that was, right.
But the caveat to that area is we are several thousand feet.
Yes, that is true.
In the air from the Detroit National Weather Service radar. So we don't always, I mean, for those of you who live in Port Austin and you've known some of those experiences over the last couple of years, it's really tough sometimes to see some of those radar features this far off to the north. And so I wouldn't doubt that there might be some wind that's ongoing, especially as you get closer to those lakeshore areas. Did Matthew just point out an area in Lapeer County?
Just that the tornado warning has been dropped for Lapeer County. So we no longer have any tornado warnings here in mid-Michigan. The severe thunderstorm warnings are still active through Tuscola, Huron, and Sanilac counties, and even there in Lapeer County. We still have the tornado possible tags on them, so they are still very strong, but again, no tornado warnings at this time.
Okay. Oh, man, I hate how that does that. It cuts off, anytime we sample this, it cuts off the whole thing, except for one small little section here. We're going to hang out just a little bit longer here, just for a few more minutes. I know we don't have any tornado warnings in place, but just the fact that these still have the tornado possible tag on them, let's give them a little bit of breathing room. What I want to do now is if one of you has the desktop computer there, maybe see if we can peruse social media a little bit and find any reports that have come in. Diane, I believe, I don't know if it's easy to get into your inbox, but our editor Tricia sent us a picture of some of those downed trees. Maybe we can pipe those in.
And also, if you do have storm photos, send them to the TV5 First Alert Weather app, because then we are able to see.
So, and if you want to pull up the actual radar loop, then we can let that play for a minute. It looks like, okay, so Dawn, who just gave me that report about the winds in Unionville and Akron, she said, of course, just as we were about to talk about what had happened in that area, her power went out. So clearly enough wind to still cause some issues. So despite the radar looking a little bit more sloppy at this point and a little less organized, it seems like we're still getting these at least localized pops of wind.
And I'll say this, we talked about it earlier about how these storms are going to weaken and they're not going to go away. And I think that we're seeing that right now, because out in the western half of the state, they were seeing reports of up to 70-mile-per-hour winds. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a report of 80-mile-per-hour winds. And now we get to the east side of the state, not as, good with the atmosphere for that severe weather, and we're probably going to see, I think, reports of 40, 50 miles per hour. So it's starting to weaken, but it's still there. Definitely starts to look like it may be weakening even more up to the north portion of that line. So always a good sign. We'll see how this continues to develop, but no more tornado warnings in place, but we're going to stay around just because.
A few more minutes at least. Back towards Saginaw, Bay City, Midland, Standish, Gladwin, Iosco County, Ogama County, Roscommon County, all good. Chesaning, Alma, Mount Pleasant, all good.
And you still might hear a few rumbles of thunder. There's still some stuff on the backside, some rain. You might, again, hear some rumbles of thunder, but you are in the clear of any of that severe weather. As I know we're hearing a few rumbles of thunder here in the studio in Saginaw. So don't think, oh, I'm safe. Oh, I hear thunder. We need to go back to the basement. That's just this thing passing by some of the weaker stuff with this line.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see what the light of day brings, based on how localized some of these wind reports have been. Just based on some of the reports that we've gotten, not necessarily all damage reports, but just a lot of reports of people saying the wind was really howling and things were getting scary for a minute. I'm wondering if we've had some microbursts along the way. That seems to me what that is, at least based on it. And those microbursts, when they happen, they can be very chaotic and almost feel like you're in a tornado. I think we're going to have at least one confirmed in that Atlas Township area over into portions of Lapeer County. But think of a microburst and why it's so chaotic. Imagine if you were on top of a building or something and you had a water balloon, and say you just threw the water balloon right off the top of the building and let it go splat. What way does the water go? The water goes in all different directions. When we've got microbursts, we either have super cold air in dry microbursts, or in certain scenarios where we have a lot of humidity from the ground level all the way up to the top. Sometimes those updrafts of the storm, they have so much water and they get so water loaded that eventually everything just collapses. And then you've got winds going in all directions. You've got that water spreading out. And that's why you get some of that straight line wind damage that looks like it's in a circle formation, but in reality, it's just been spread out just like something going splat.
And like you said, it can be confusing because it can cause damage as well. Winds are very strong. We see other places where you get those downbursts where they cause a lot of damage. You think a tornado has been through that area, and there hasn't been. It's just that downburst, that energy sort of confusing people. So again, I agree with you. I think we saw in the, some of the soundings yesterday on the models that the environment maybe was there for those bursts. So, so we'll see.
I'm very interested to see what the light of day brings. Everything looks like it's based on some of the velocity signatures. It looks like everything's kind of bowing out a little bit, primarily just a straight line wind threat. Matthew, are you seeing something?
I think he's going to show us a viewer photo.
Okay. Yeah, anything that we can show. And just a shout out to our director, Adam, tonight, keeping us moving with all of this. This is exactly what we were talking about with our editor, Trisha. This is Trisha's photo, correct? Yes. Just so I don't give her credit for somebody else's photo. A pretty large pine tree here. And from what she had texted me, she said there was a row of these that were blown over. And Diane and Stone seemed to have the same thinking that I did. This looks like a really clean break pushing over in that direction. To me, that seems to suggest it's very hard to do with just a still image like this. This seems to suggest more of a straight line push than anything else.
And I was going to say, that was in the area really St. Charles South. I've gotten a few reports of Perry South in Ingham County that some big trees, cracks, maybe not falling over, but very rough shape because of straight line winds. Really that Shiawassee area, even Genesee County, it looks like straight line winds ended up being really the thing there that pushed through. And when we get up in the morning and we see trees are down, I think that's where a lot of that tree damage, any of your stuff in your yard, maybe that was loose and got blown away, definitely going to be straight line winds on the southern half, but there still was obviously some areas that did have some rotation. Okay,
so I did get a report from Sarah Schumann. Hopefully, Sarah, I pronounced your name correctly. M52 south of St. Charles is shut down due to debris across the highway. That looks like it's posted on Facebook somewhere. I mean, not that it matters. That seems to line up with some of the reports that we got there. We did get that report of a funnel cloud. Unfortunately, the way the correlation coefficient, which is our debris tracker, was working tonight, I didn't necessarily see a clear signature in that St. Charles area.
I mean, we had a prime example of what it should look like down there in southern Lapeer and Genesee County. That sort of small ball, a little bit brighter. Sometimes it will be blue, especially if the tornadoes picked up a lot of debris. We saw that actually in the western half of the state, south of Grand Rapids. They had an area that had a pretty good debris ball. We had that, but not in that area around St. Charles. But we also had some what we call spikes maybe disrupting that. So we'll have to see. I think that will be an area that wake up in the morning, see what kind of reports from that area, because you'll get a better view. And like we said earlier, just play it safe. Don't need to be out there right now unless it's an emergency. Most of that damage is still going to be there in the morning. We want you to be safe as you're getting through this night. And again, you may another thing you have to remember too is if you're someone that has to travel maybe a little bit of ways, maybe you live out of town, you're traveling into town tomorrow morning, be prepared for some roads to be closed, not only for trees falling on the road, power lines on roads, but obviously maybe some localized flooding. Obviously lots of heavy rain from this as it moved through. So just be prepared for that as you're waking up tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I'm very interested. And what I will say too, just because so many of you are up late with us at this point, we do have another threat for some stronger winds tomorrow night. I don't want that to get lost. Tomorrow we might be in cleanup mode. I don't want anyone to be surprised by that. That's going to be another later night threat. Doesn't look quite as put together as tonight's threat, but certainly seems noteworthy tomorrow. I think what we're looking at tomorrow is more of those microburst type scenarios. We've got.
You want me to load up an hour by hour real quick?
I don't think we need to do that just yet. Let's focus on tonight first and just get through this.
I do also want to highlight, I was looking at the MDOT map, and there is some slower traffic around St. Charles.
Around St. Charles.
So everything is kind of lining up. We also had another view where they sent in some photos to where there was some debris that had been thrown against their screen window, and they also had said that there was a tree down outside of their apartment there in St. Charles. So there's definitely the debris, at least the trees down. We also have leaves at this point in the season, so those are easily to be able to pick.
You know what, Diane? I know we didn't get a really good debris signature for St. Charles. Can we go back on the velocity and just maybe we can point out where some of that danger might be with what's maybe lying beneath some of the damage?
In the St. Charles area?
Yes. Just to go back, because that's where we're getting most of our reports tonight. I think, again, we saw a good enough debris signature that I think we're going to have something confirmed near Atlas Township. I haven't seen any reports of that thus far.
Hold on, I wanted to make sure that we had all full data because that was about an hour ago. So as it was coming
it was right around that 12:10. So
it was like 12:15 we had the
okay, so it was between scans, I'm guessing, because they said it was south of St. Charles on 52. So we've got the scan to the west, we've got the scan right there to the east. So let's zoom in just to the south of there and get down to street level. Gosh, that's, boy. And I know going south on 52, as you start to get out of St. Charles, let's back that up just one more time. Or I'm sorry, not zoom in, but back up the that signature. Okay. And then zoom out just a little bit more. I'm sorry. I just want to get a full scope. So, I hope that didn't go right through St. Charles. Maybe just, if it's just to the south, I know right as you go out of town, down 52, it's that densely packed neighborhood.
Yes.
I'm hoping we don't have significant, the one thing that makes me hopeful is it sounds like we've got debris. I'm hopeful that the fact that any debris signature didn't overtake the hail spike is a good sign. I hope it's minor damage. Okay, that's St. Charles with the outage map right there. Yeah, that's an area that I've driven through many times. I know how you've got all of those houses that are just to the south of town as you're starting to go down 52, and knowing there's some debris there. Hopefully, I'm hoping daylight's not too bad in that area. But again, I'm hoping the fact that we didn't get a debris signature, that it's fairly minor. Diane, you're looking up Google Maps, right?
Yeah, so we had a report come in from one of the apartment complex in St. Charles. So I'm trying to see where the apartment is compared to where that rotation was.
Okay, sorry for the dead air. We're just trying to. I think we're gonna end our coverage here within the next few minutes just because of the storms getting set to move out.
Okay, so the apartment complex is on the north side of town, just north of North Street and just north of the river.
Yeah, because you've got that park there too.
Yep.
It looks to be just west of that rotation, where that kind of hub is there. The apartment complex is just west of M52.
What was the report of the apartment complex?
Mainly they just said that a tree was down there and that there was also some leaves that had been thrown against the building. There was also some debris that had hit the window as well.
I'm hoping that because that's all we had, I'm hoping that it may just be straight line wind debris or a quick microburst. I'm hoping that's the case. And I'd feel the same way about any area too. It's just the fact that that signature was right in St. Charles or just as you were going out of town, it looks like. So.
You had also mentioned Unionville,
Yes.
Seguin area. We do have some power outages there now.
Yeah, Dawn, who sent us that report, said she lost power as soon as we started covering it. So the way it goes
And that
tonight,
aligns.
apparently. Atlas Township, for those of you who might be in that area, we'd love reports from you, obviously when it's safe to do so, especially if we had that confirmation. You've got more important things to worry about right now.
The good news is that tornado watch has now been canceled for Midland County, Shiawassee County. So if you are still awake and wanting that all clear, if you're along and west of 75, we can give you that all clear. Genesee County, you were also in the clear as well. So we're mainly just going to be watching for the line of rainfall here into the thumb. So Huron County, Sanilac County, that's mainly the portions that we're watching. And even what I'm seeing now in Huron County does not look favorable for severe weather. I know that warning is going to last until 2:15 in the morning, but at least with what we are looking at here on radar, it mainly looks like Sanilac County is where we have some of our stronger storms, but even those have weakened considerably.
Yeah, and it looks like some of the wind that is moving on the outside, if we want to take a broad view with just the velocity, it looks like some of the wind in the thumb still looks like it's breezy. I think you're probably going to get some wind gusts that still pop up on occasion. But again, if these are the colors we're seeing aloft, which aren't overly impressive, I have to imagine the wind below that is even lighter. That was the term that I was looking for.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we're getting to that point with, especially up there towards the northern portion of the thumb, that those colors are sort of signaling that, yeah, definitely some weaker winds. I think it still will be breezy at times, but I think we'll eventually see that severe, some of those severe winds definitely start to die down.
Okay.
Also coming in from Saginaw County Emergency Management, they had shared this on their Facebook page that M52 south of St. Charles is currently closed in both directions due to downed trees. Also, there is high water on M46 under the train bridge in Buena Vista. There's multiple trees and down wires in St. Charles, Spalding, Bridgeport, and down power lines, of course, can still be energized. They want to stress that, so please stay away from them. Call 911 and then call the energy company as well to clean those up. And then along M57, Buckley and Lincoln is closed due to storm debris on the roadways as well. A lot of these roads, and we had mentioned tonight, so the debris definitely picking up here.
Yeah, I think based on the position that I'm seeing on radar right now is I think we're in a good position.
Yes.
To at least get off of coverage right now. I know if you're in the thumb, you're not done just yet. Don't forget about us. We're not. We're going to be right here. Matthew's here now. He's going to work his shift. But I mean, this just looks like a broad area of stratiform rain now. It seems like for most of the thumb. Frankly, I'm kind of surprised that we still have the warning there.
I also agree. That's why I was like, sort of the hope they thought they would cancel it by this point, but.
I say that with the context of our partners at the Weather Service in Detroit have been great tonight. They've been ahead of the game. Our partners with the National Weather Service in Grand Rapids have been great getting the warnings out ahead of time. And even though we didn't have quite as many, our partners in Gaylord have done fantastic. Our director, Adam, you've been great tonight getting us where we need to go on air. Elise Ramey has stayed with us and has got our live stream on the air. We appreciate you as well. And then also appreciate all of your reports that have come in tonight. It certainly helps us out, especially this time of night, because oftentimes there are things that we can't always see, especially when Stone and I started coverage in Gratiot County tonight. We were right on the edge of where the Grand Rapids radar hands off to the Detroit radar. Really tough to see some of those initial signatures that came through. So please, if you have damage reports, if you have damage photos, WNEM.com or WNEM at WNEM.com. Are you guys seeing some
Just
reports?
looking at some reports that have come in. We had one out of Gratiot.
Yeah, Gratiot County, Wheeler, Michigan, 6 or 7 trees are down. Buildings also impacted. That was a report sent in. So I don't think that's been sent into the National Weather Service yet. So, but that will most likely be in there in the next few hours.
Okay. Yep. So we'll get a full scope, I'm sure, tomorrow morning. So we'll cut it off there. Thank you all for your reports. I think if you're in the Thumb, just stay alert. We're not going anywhere as far as leaving the building just yet. We still have the tornado watch technically in place until 3 o'clock, but based on what we're seeing in that area now, it just looks like primarily rain showers moving through. We're not seeing any concerning areas of velocity at this point that would indicate some rotation. So we'll stick around off the air just a little bit longer for you. But if you're west of the Thumb, you are in the clear for good. Midland County, Bay County, Saginaw, west of 75 just fine. Tuscola, Lapeer, and western Huron County, you're fine as well. So send your reports our way, and we'll get back to regularly scheduled programming.